watching another episode of Every Day is a New Day, because every day is a new day. And every show is a new show. Okay, so this show is You Have the Power with Kim and my really wonderful guest, Mary Jo Rakowski, as you can see on your screen. So I want to welcome Mary Jo to the show today.
Thank you, Kim. Hey, everybody out there. Awesome to be here.
Mary, you know, I love you. So you are a personal trainer for the mind and empowerment coach. And one of my first questions that I want to ask you is, what does empowerment mean to you?
You know, it's a multi-layered kind of word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Empowerment to me is understanding on a very, very visceral cellular level that we are the ones who are in control of our life, and that no one, nobody, nothing else has any control over us. Having said that, that means we have to take on a big, huge responsibility, as we were chatting just before, that we can't point the finger out there and say, oh, it's their fault or that fault. And so when we recognize that we are the ones who are responsible, I can't even imagine anything more powerful. I just can't even imagine anything more powerful. And yes, can be kind of scary and frightening at the same time.
Right, because once we realize that, oh, the power lies with us, all the structure is sort of taken away, and there's just, you know, things are kind of wide open, and now we get to choose and decide, what do I want my next, you know, what do I want my future to look like? How am I going to shape that and create that? There's so many variables because we get to choose.
We do. And part of what makes us freeze in place and like deers in the headlight is getting worried about, well, if I take this direction, what will happen? If I go this way, what will happen? Instead of having a little faith in your own instincts and intuition and understanding where your joy comes from, where your passions are, and taking steps in those directions, and having faith in yourself and faith that universe, source, the big kahuna, whatever you want to call it, has your back. And it's going to put things out there in front of you that are going to help you on your path.
Absolutely. So, Mary Jo, tell me, what is your journey to empowerment been like?
Well, I'm not going to make this too long because this is this could be a very long conversation. Basic background: raised Roman Catholic. Had a little issue around that starting about, grade 4 or 5 in Catholic school. Fast forward, my big shift began when my mother was killed by a drunk driver in 1997. As you can imagine, turned my world upside down. And for approximately 10 years after that, I lived in a very dark state. Sadness, grief, misunderstanding of why this had to happen. And of course, I was going to change the world and single-handedly stop people from drinking and driving. That was my sole purpose. I had very tight blinders on. Roughly 10 years after that, I'm in my car driving to an event to tell my story, and I had this epiphany that this was not who I wanted to be anymore.
Wow.
I don't want to be this person anymore. And it hit me so hard, Kim, I had to pull off to the side of the road. Because the next thought was, well, if this identity is not me anymore, who am I going to be? And how am I going to get there? And I mentioned being frightened earlier. I was scared out of my mind.
Who was that person that you didn't want to be? You mentioned you had tight blinders on. Was it just, do you think it just ran its course, or was there something else?
Well, I didn't want to be that angry, dark individual anymore. I didn't want to be associated so tightly with a woman whose mother was killed by a drunk driver. I got very involved with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and I was in my community. I was known for that relationship. and nothing else, pretty much. And it wasn't any one thing that happened. I'd gotten turned on to Mike Dooley's Notes from the Universe, which slowly, at first I was really like, oh, whatever, these things are cliche. So it took me a little while to warm up to those. And then I started doing a little bit of reading. I don't know if you have heard of the movie What the Bleep Do We Know?
Yes.
Okay. Watched that movie when it first came out, and there were several people in that movie that just made me kind of sit up and take notice.
Nice.
And so I started doing a little reading and a little researching and stretching my wings, and literally put the brakes immediately on my relationship with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I had to really sever it right there. There was no weaning. I had to stop.
Wow. So what came after that?
So what came out after that, the first thing would have been going to a Train the Trainer with Mike Dooley and becoming certified to share his program, Infinite Possibilities, The Art of Changing Your Life. I had read the book. I'm reading the book thinking, man, how do I share this information with people? And boom, at the bottom of one of my notes, it's become a certified trainer. Yeah. So hello, universe.
Yes.
Hello, universe. So I did that. And then I started exploring more around Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's in What the Bleep.
Okay.
I've been to several of his workshops. I've read his books. I draw on a lot of the research that he's done around how we can rewire our brain. You know, one of the things that Mothers Against Drunk Driving used to drive home was the brain becomes hardwired by around the age of 21, 22, which is why, little sidetrack here, why they instituted 21 as the national minimum age for drinking. Because science at the time thought, by the time you're 21, your brain is pretty much well-formed. Well, now we know, oh no, the brain is never set in its ways. We have the ability to rewire our brain if we know how.
Okay, here's a question for you. So what would you say to someone? I say that a lot. I have a question. Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who appears to be in the mindset of, you know, my reality is what it is. There's no changing anything. And I don't need to go into the depths of my mind and change my mind. You know, my reality is my reality. Any thoughts for how would you approach someone like that?
So the sarcastic East Coast girl of me might say, and how's that working for you? To use a kind of catchy phrase of the day. But then I would probably approach it from, so, okay, that's cool. You're taking, this is where you are. And right now you feel like it works for you. Are you happy? You know, are you happy in this life that you have? Would you like more? Or are you content to move along that way? Because if you're content, I'm not messing with you. If you say you're happy and you're content, hey, bless you. Keep on trucking. But if there's a little piece of you that says, well, I think I'd like a little more of this or a little more of that. And then that allows me to have a deeper conversation with somebody. If somebody is pretty cool with who they are and where they're at, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's really what it's all about, is being comfortable in your own skin, who you are and what you're doing with your life. And if you're comfortable and you're happy with that, I'm not going to mess with you.
What tips do you have for someone who's in that space of realizing they're uncomfortable with their current mindset, their emotions, whatever's going on, but they don't know how to get out of it? They don't know how to move forward.
There's a lot of different books that you can read that just begin to take you into that arena a little bit. There's so much on YouTube anymore. Seriously, I was just thinking about that this morning after the chaos of New Year's morning settled down in my house. How grateful I am for technology. I mean, what we have access to now is absolutely amazing.
I agree.
So, for somebody who wants to look at transforming their life and starting small, I have a reading list, also videos people can watch and things like that. and get started. See what feels comfortable for you. There's a lot of different teachers out there that are delivering essentially the same information, but just in a little different fashion. And I encourage people to find somebody who they resonate with, somebody that they feel they can connect with. It could be the likes of a Tony Robbins,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be the likes of a Brene Brown. It could be the Mike Dooley. It could be Joe Dispenza. Bruce Lipton is another one that comes to mind. You know, so there's so many out there. There's so much out there. And it can feel a little overwhelming, but pick one. Just pick one. Explore it a little bit.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
That's one thing I like. I like that there are so many people sharing a lot of the same information, but they're doing it their own way. Not everyone's going to resonate with the same teacher or the same coach, the same, thought leader kind of, you need to find the one that fits you. And because they're going to be able to say things that connect with you on that deeper level.
Yeah, it's like that label on clothing that says one size fits all. No. One size does not fit all, nor does one teacher fit all. And so you really are doing yourself a great service to explore and see who you feel like you really connect with.
So now that where you are now in life,
mm-hmm.
as a personal trainer and empowerment coach, when do you feel least empowered, and how do you move beyond that today?
I feel the least empowered when I allow that monkey mind that used to tell me for years I was not enough to turn up its volume. And the volume turns up a little bit more and a little bit more until I finally become aware that it's there almost yelling at me. And I have been unaware, and I kind of go, wait a minute, where'd you come from? Get back in your box, So, and we all go through that. I don't care who you are. We all have, as Joe Dispenza would say, those dark nights of the soul.
Yeah. Well,
and that's part of living. That's part of being a human being, and it's okay. So how do I get out of that? I'm a big, big, big advocate of meditation. Huge advocate of meditation, because we get out of our own way when we meditate. Yeah. Music is it affects every fiber of our being. So music is a big one for me. I might go back and reread sections of books that have really just stirred me, and just to reacquaint myself and reestablish that connection. It's almost like going back to doing the work I've done in the past and refreshing myself of where I've been and where I've come from.
And that's actually the heart of why I was phrasing it that way. When do you feel least empowered? I could have probably chosen a different way to ask you that question. But the reason why I asked you that question is because the point I want to make is that you can, be in a dark place and find your way out of it. And then things still happen and you got to revisit it, and I that's what I want to share is I just want people to know that, life is going to continue to ebb and flow as long as you're living. You're going to, kind of go through the end, but you improve as long as you, continue to be on the journey and learn as you go. And stuff. Things can get easier, but yeah, you can still find yourself going back to those places and go, oh, wait, here I am again. But what do I know now that's different from, before when I didn't know it? And how can I use that to my benefit? So that's where I was going with that question.
And it's a good point to bring up with people, because I've had people that I work with, women that I work with, who said, where were you 20 years ago? I needed you 20 years ago. And I turn and I look at them and I will say to them, think of who you were 20 years ago. If I showed up and shared this information with you, would you have been ready to receive it? I've had people ask me, don't you wish you had known what you know now sooner? And I look at them and say, I wouldn't have been ready. We all come to this when we are ready to receive it. Yeah. And it comes to us in the perfect timing.
Yeah.
And yes, we go up and down. That's part of living. We couldn't recognize the joy if we didn't have a little bit of sadness.
Exactly. Yeah. And there is no, oh, here, I finally reached that place, and now I'm there, and I'm never going to go back. There is no there. You just keep going. Just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Enlightenment to me, because what you were just saying was like sparking all that, watching the guru sitting there and being so enlightened, and everybody's striving to become enlightened and enlightened. Enlightened to me is just growing that awareness and growing it and expanding it and seeing it go out further and further from us.
yeah.
And it doesn't ever stop, because we live in an infinite world. We live in an infinite universe. So how can that enlightenment ever stop?
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
one of the things I read about you, or that you shared with me, is that you volunteer with women who are incarcerated, and you help empower them.
Right. Actually, they're recently released from incarceration.
Got it. Okay.
So they are trying to reintegrate back into society.
Okay.
And I have to share with you, I've been doing this for about a year and a half now, and I have received quite the education of the challenges that people are faced when they come out of incarceration.
Mm.
Why they went into jail has, get beyond that. They're human beings. They want to come back into society, and they are going to be faced with challenges that the rest of us can't even imagine, just cannot even imagine. And I have found this to be very rewarding work, very fulfilling, and at the same time, often very sad.
What led you to wanting to work with that population? Does it have a connection to the story about your mother?
Well, in a sense, it does. I've always been a proponent of restorative justice, and this program that I volunteer with, for me, fits into that category, where we don't sit in judgment of these people. They have been to jail. They have served their time. Okay, let's help them be productive members of society. We had recently moved into Wisconsin, into Green Bay, and I also believe fully in becoming involved in your own community. It's one of the ways learn how it ticks. And I opened up the newspaper one day, and here's this full-page article about this Circles of Support program. And I'm reading it, and I went, wow, I'm going to look into this. So I did. I shot off an email. I filled out the application. I went through the interview process. I was trained, and I was off and running. And it is an opportunity for me to have these women look at the story that they've been telling for years and years and years. And do you want to continue telling that story? Okay, no. What can we do to help you change? What can we do to help you write a new chapter? And so I use a lot of what I do with other people with these women.
Do you ever get any resistance around, it's not a story, it's reality?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. But then I'll look at them and say, okay, but do you have to accept it? Are you just, won't you give it a try? Just what have you got to lose to try and make your reality different, to make it more of what you would like it to look like?
Yeah.
And it's all small steps too. We're not pushing these women to take huge leaps. Everything is done in really small steps. Really small steps.
I think a lot of us, we tend to live our lives based on, seeing is believing, until the pain of whatever's going on in our life gets so bad that finally we're willing to say, okay, fine, maybe there is another way. Maybe believing can be seeing.
We're all on our own path.
Yeah.
We'll choose our own path. And that if this person over here is choosing a path that has more pain in it, then they've made that choice for a reason. And what I can best do is be there to support them on the way, rather than wanting to take them by the shoulders. And don't get me wrong, because I really, really, really want to do that sometimes. By the shoulders and give them a shake and say, I'm telling you, it does not have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Most of the time, they just need to be reassured that they're good enough to have something different and better. You're in prison. You're not told how good you are. You're told quite the opposite. All your power, you give away all your power when you go into the system, whether it's jail or into prison. All of your power is given away by a choice that you made. Now, let's see how we can start taking that back in small increments.
What's the first increment, or what's one small increment that someone who's in prison, let's say someone in a prison happens to see this, what's one, yeah, hi. What's one thing they can do right now?
I'm going to go back to the idea of meditation. And there's a lot of different types of meditation out there. But one of my first recommendations is to explore some different guided meditations. Guided meditations with specific intentions about looking at yourself in a more positive light. In spite of what else you might hear going on out there around you, if you can begin to look in and look at yourself in a more positive light, then all of that other stuff that you have no control over is not going to weigh you down and pull you down. You'll be able to move through all of that with a little more grace and ease. So if you can begin with that, that's a great first step.
I totally agree with that. When I was first starting with meditation, actually about 9 years ago now, I way preferred guided meditation to just music or just silence, because when you're just starting out, it's like there's too much going on in your head. Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to do it on your own, I mean, anything is possible. You absolutely can do it on your own, but it can be easier for those who find themselves, just continuing to have, whatever negative thoughts or doubtful thoughts or anything that are creeping in the middle of that meditation. It can just sort of take some of that pressure off to listen to a voice that's guiding you on that journey. It's a lot easier.
Yeah. One of the other things I do with the women a lot is there was a woman by the name of Candace Pert. She was in What the Bleep Do We Know?
Okay.
But I was listening to a recording of her. She's no longer with us on this plane. She transitioned back in the 90s. But she was talking about a study they did with people who have been diagnosed as clinically depressed.
Okay.
And they were watching where these people breathed from. And they noticed that they were all breathing from real high. So they took them and they just started coaching them on how to breathe from a deeper and a deeper and a deeper place in their body. And many of the people who went through this and were able to change how they breathed were either able to severely cut back on their medications and or go off of them, all this stuff that they were being treated for depression. So I often with these women will say, if they're resistant to like meditation or, try to take a moment and think before you speak and all of this, then I say, okay, let's just breathe. Let's just close your eyes. Let's breathe. And I talk them through breathing from a deeper place and a deeper place. And the first time I did that with this, there were 3 of the women in the group, and they opened their eyes and I just sat there and they all went, wow. Because they had all come in all tight because of the challenges. They kept, their heads just kept beaten up against walls. They weren't making any progress. And I just said, okay, let's take a few minutes and let's just breathe. And after that, they felt like they could go back and try and work through some of these challenges and obstacles again.
Wonderful.
So the power of our breath you just can't put a value on it. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, the power of our breath.
2016 is the year that I learned how much I loved breathing.
Oh, do tell. Did you stop?
No, but it's amazing how we don't even realize what a difference it can make to just take deeper breaths, to be, I used to think that was just so cheesy and hokey, like sit with the breath and, just connect with your breath. Like, what? Like, I didn't get it, and I don't know what changed it, but I just started incorporating. I think what it was is that I finally wanted to start meditating without music this past year. And I was just allowing myself to just breathe. I just was naturally doing that. And after 10 minutes going, oh my gosh, I feel so rejuvenated. I feel so calm. I feel so connected to myself, which I think that was another thing I didn't used to get, but it just breathe and you get it. You can start to get it.
There's a great little 1 minute video on YouTube, and it's a Tibetan monk talking about meditation and that you don't have to do it for a long time. And when you get that little monkey mind trying to distract you, give it a job. Tell it to pay attention to the breath and just pay attention. As you were saying, just paying attention to your breath. Okay, I'm going to breathe a little deeper, a little easier, a little more relaxed. So give the monkey mind a job. Ask it to pay attention to my breath. It's a great little 1 minute video. It's awesome.
I've seen that video. Yeah. As you mentioned that one, that reminded me, I know I've seen another one, and I think there's a couple of these, but I've seen another one that gives sort of like a diagram of a triangle and breathe in time with the triangle.
Sure. Yeah.
Like as it expands and then deflates. And I think that could be really helpful too for someone if they're just starting out, meditating, and they want to try to incorporate what we're talking about with just, take deeper breaths, breathe in time with that.
Right. And sometimes people do like that visual, so they have something to focus on for a while.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, and I'm finding it interesting. There's people out there who are not real comfortable just sitting by themselves and closing their eyes. You see them kind of peeking, which always makes me kind of laugh. So having a visual, again, to focus on, it then quiets that mind chatter.
Yeah.
And that's all we're trying to do is quiet that down so we can just go still for a little bit.
Yeah. Another thing that's been helpful for me, and I know for others, is to not think that you have to, shut out every thought, or you have to stop thinking. How about we just accept that, okay, there might be some thoughts that creep in. And when we take a moment to say, oh, hello, okay, but you know what? This is time for me. So I'm going to let you go on and just acknowledge it and send it on its way and refocus it's okay. If you have to do that, every 2 seconds, then do it. But, continue to practice, because the more you practice the meditation, the fewer and fewer times that'll end up happening and, become a major distraction for you.
Especially when science tells us we have anywhere between 75 and 90,000 thoughts a day.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Are you kidding? And 5% of those are conscious thinking. So I do the same thing when those other thoughts come in. I'm like, okay, could you just wait over here for a little bit. Let me finish here. You wait over there.
Yep.
So we're not saying go away. I don't want you anymore. We're asking them to just, as you said, just sit there for a moment. I'll be with you in a minute. Yeah, it works. It works.
So what else would you like to share with people in terms of them having the power? Anything else come to mind?
Well, the other piece to it that I shared with you is the idea of self-love. So many people view that as a state of being selfish. And it isn't, because if we don't take care of us first, we can't really be there for anybody else. And so when we take the time to nourish ourselves on all levels, physically, emotionally, spiritually, when we make that effort, when we take that time, it's amazing how everyone in our circle benefits. Everybody in our circle will benefit. And I can tell you personal experience going through this journey that I've gone through. I'm married. I've been with the same man now for 40 plus years, and his journey is very different, but I continue to do what nourishes me, and he is benefiting.
Nice.
Now, he's not going to admit it, but he is. I can see it. Other people can see it. So it works that way. So self-love is not being selfish. It's not being selfless. It's right in the middle there. Right in the middle.
I love that you say that. Yeah, I absolutely believe that we can't really give to others if we don't give to ourselves first.
Right, right. And you know, I'm just going to say, generally speaking, women tend to give out here until we drive ourselves into a state of exhaustion.
Yeah.
And then we scream like, just leave me alone, you know?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, man, what's up with her? What? And I know that because that was me. That was me. And so it isn't that you can't still give to other people, but you have to remember to feed yourself.
Yeah.
You got to remember to do that. Take care of you. So self-love is another big thing. And that's a tough one for people who have not just been incarcerated, but anybody who's been in a state of being that they're trying to move out of. Because being disempowered, not feeling empowered, is not feeling love of yourself. You don't feel like you're worthy of it. Well, of course you are. We all are. Absolutely.
What's helped you develop or cultivate more self-love for yourself?
It's been a trial and error.
Good answer. I agree.
You know, it's not, good Lord, it has not always been a smooth path. Absolutely not. But again, it's understanding that I'm one piece of a whole. I'm one piece of a whole. And if I want that whole to be healthy, and if I want that whole to be nourishing and nurturing and loving to others, I got to do that for me. I've got to do that for me. Now, some of the things I tried to do were very self-centered and very selfish, and they kind of backfired. But if I tune in to my instincts and what my gut is telling me to do or pushing me or urging me, if I follow that, I can't go wrong. I can't go wrong. So it's been this journey of absorbing all this knowledge and going to a variety of workshops and speaking with other people and just kind of absorbing all of this and then sitting with it and going, okay, now how can I share this? How can I share this out with other people so they might take bits and pieces of it, put it into their own world and share it and just keep it moving forward?
Take what you need, leave what you don't.
Exactly. And I tell everybody that. I'm always like, you know, I'm going to say some stuff and you might look at me and go, well, she is crazy. That's all right. That's okay. Take what works for you right now in this present moment and don't worry about the rest.
So I love talking to you, Mary Jo.
Oh, thanks, Kim. I like to talk, especially about this. I really do. I love being in this kind of conversation with people who just, you know, challenge me and make me keep thinking about who I am, where I've come from, what I want to be doing down the road. So I love it. I love it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. What do you see yourself doing down the road?
You know, here it is. Do we dare say the date? No, because who knows when you're going to put this on. But it is New Year's Day, 2017, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what do I see myself doing down the road? I have 2 different books that I have barely begun writing. So those, I'm really pushing myself to buckle down and focus on those in the next 6 months. And because they've been languishing around for a while. Actually, one's been languishing for many, many years. And I also am being drawn to see how I can do more work with women in prison prior to their release. I feel like there's a gap there that if I can take the principles of infinite possibilities and some of this new neural science and some quantum thinking, and if I can take it in there and if I can expose them prior to them being released, it may make their path a little easier, a little bit easier. So I'm exploring that option right now as well. And then it's pretty much staying open to whatever the universe throws up in front of me, and, door 1, 2, or 3, which one would you like? And pick a door and walk through it. And because who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? If you asked me 5 years ago I'd be doing what I'm doing today, I would have looked at you and went, you think? I don't. Just stay open. Just stay open, because you just don't know where it's going to lead you.
Yeah. I think there's a balance between setting the intention and taking actions, right?
Absolutely.
But then not being attached to the outcome and remaining open. It's
right.
Remaining in flow with the energy so that you are able to see the opportunities as they come.
Right. And people will say, well, don't you have to have a plan? I had one woman in a group just like rear up one day and go, you have to have a plan. I said, sure, have a plan. Just don't be so attached to it that you dismiss other opportunities that might come along the way. I'm not saying don't have a plan. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying don't get so attached to the specific details of the outcome that you block all other opportunity.
That's been a big one. I know, not being attached to the outcome and having a plan. For me, gosh, I know there have been many times where I've wanted to do something and I have an idea and I start planning it, but then I don't take any action ever until I feel I've got the entire thing fully fleshed out and I know every detail and how everything's going to transition. Years would pass. It's just not the way I want to live anymore. So I'm right there with you. It's, to me, it's plan as much as you can and then say, okay, I'm going to start anyway. I'm going to start now with what I have because this is the moment. And my life is now. I want to do this now. I'm not going to wait anymore for someone, I'm not going to wait for someone to say, yes, your plan is perfect now, or things are going to continue to change. So if we're continuing to work on the plan, everything else is changing outside anyway. So we're just going to have to keep changing the plan anyway. Let me change the plan. Oh, that changed. Now let me change. And to me, that is right there giving our power away too.
Absolutely. Look, we live in a world of infinite possibilities. That is what the quantum field is. It's a field of infinite possibilities. You can have a plan with such minute detail involved, but you still cannot plan for every eventuality. Mm-mm. So are you going to be rigid and stick to that plan and say, okay, if I go to A and B and C and then D doesn't happen and that's it, I'm done. Okay, next? No. So D doesn't show up, but then there's E, F, G, H, there's this other stuff that shows up. But I used to be the same way. You're like, okay, I'll do this and then I'll do that. But what if that doesn't happen? Oh, man, then what do I do? So you stop yourself before you can even start.
Yes.
We can get so in our own way. And that was a message that I got really big right before the holidays. A big reminder of how I can get in my own way. And I won't go into details, but because it doesn't matter. But you see, that still can happen.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it too. Like even though you just touched on it, even though we're talking about this and don't let the plan, stop you from starting and all this stuff. I know for me, I've still got some things that are getting in my way, but I'm doing as much as I absolutely can right now that I know I can. And I'm stepping outside my comfort zone just as much as I can make myself do without totally freaking out.
Yeah.
And I think the more we do that, we get more comfortable, and it's that whole practicing. And then before you know it, you're able to look back and go, whoa, look what I did.
Absolutely. And I always tell people it may not be this big, huge thing that you look back and go, holy crap. It could be small things.
Yeah.
find the joy and the pleasure in the small things. You know, a good friend of mine shared one time how she, you know her, Rebecca Segota.
Yeah.
She's in the produce department of the store, and she picks up an orange and she sits there and she starts reflecting on all the steps it took for that orange to land in her hand. So think about it. The seed had to be planted for the tree, had to be watered, it had to be fertilized. The tree grew, it had to be pruned. The fruit comes out of the tree, it has to be picked, it has to be sorted, it has to be packed, it has to be shipped. You know, all those different steps along the way. And if one doesn't show up in perfect timing, you have to be able to adjust.
Yeah.
So these accomplishments are not always huge, big things. Sometimes they're really small. But take the pleasure and be happy about even the smallest of your accomplishments.
Yeah. Not every accomplishment is going to be witnessed by someone else. Or
hello. Yeah. And does it make it any less valuable if it's not witnessed? No. No, you're doing it for you. You're not doing it for, you're doing it for you, and everybody out there will benefit.
Yes. And I think the ones, you know, the accomplishments that are showing up on the outside where other people can see them, it's the result of all the accomplishments we've made just within ourselves that no one ever saw.
Absolutely.
And that can lead to us, you know, just sort of jumping, you know, to conclusions and assuming, oh, well, that person, you know, they had it easy or whatever. No.
We don't really know everybody else's story.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing I'll often tell people, you know, so you're driving down the road and some guy cuts you off, and you either do what I used to do. You yell at him or flip the bird or whatever. And I can remember my son sitting quietly in the seat next to me and saying, "Mom, they cannot hear you." And then realizing that you don't know that other person's story.
Yeah.
Maybe they just got a call and they're racing to the ER. Or maybe they're just a bad driver. Yes. But does yelling at them and flipping them off change anything? Make you feel any better? Not in the long run, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I still do that sometimes, but not as much as I used to. It's when we stop and think. We don't know everybody else's story.
Yeah.
We know ours. So take responsibility and take control of your own story and deliberately write it and create it.
When we take responsibility, that's where the power lies. Take responsibility for all of it, because any portion of it that we blame someone else or you know, any of it, we're just giving the power away. And
yeah, we are. So let me just touch on something a little bit here. So this is sometimes what'll get thrown back at me when I talk about that. And somebody will say, well, so I'm responsible for the person who molested me. Okay. No, you're not responsible for that specific situation. What you're now responsible for is how you take that event and how does it inform as you move forward in your life. So it's not about going back and changing the past. It's about taking that knowledge, that wisdom that you're gaining from those past experiences. And now how is that going to inform the choices that you make moving forward? And there's a difference there. It's a big difference. It's not letting somebody off or anything like that, but it's your choice. It's your choice how you're going to take that experience and have it tell you what kind of choices you'll make going down the road.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I know that's sort of a sensitive area when we talk about taking responsibility. So
yeah,
very good point.
And it's one that I get a lot with the women that I work with who are coming out of prison. You know, well, so I'm responsible for him getting me caught up in a bad drug deal. Let's not go down that path. How are you going to use that moving forward?
Yeah.
Because that's how, you know, it's interesting, because that's how you change your past. Think about it. If you decide that you're not going to stay stuck in the emotional turmoil of a past experience, you're not forgetting it, but it's not going to dictate how you move forward in your life, then you kind of change the past, don't you? You kind of change your past. What? What?
I think it gives it meaning.
It does. It does. It does. But you were right earlier. You said, be here now. All we have is the now. We don't have the past. We don't have the future. We have here, this present moment.
Yeah.
So be as fully engaged and aware in the present moment as you possibly can.
Mary Jo, I am so enjoying this. We went way beyond our 30 minutes that I had initially. I know.
I can't believe that.
I know, right? Yeah. So how can people get in contact with you that would like to work with you, find out more about you? Can you be in touch for your books when your books come out?
Yeah, right. I'm on Facebook. You can always find me on Facebook, Mary Jo Rakowski. Also my website, which is www.maryjorakowski.com. It is under renovation, so don't be critical.
Yeah, great. I just looked at it today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Don't be critical. And how else can you get a hold of me? Hey, if you want to email me, it's mjrakowski53@gmail.com or call me 970-799-1256.
Awesome. And so you are doing work locally with those who are incarcerated.
Right.
So do you work with people? I imagine, do you do also phone sessions or whatever?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. One-on-ones. I do small groups locally. I will go almost anywhere to share what I have to say.
Nice. So
seriously, it's such powerful information. This program of Mike Dooley's is just so incredibly powerful. So the more we can spread that word out to people, the more we'll all benefit.
Absolutely. So no matter where someone is, they can contact Mary Jo Rakowski and get in touch with you and be able to absorb your wisdom and have you empower them and all that.
I should have written it all down on a little piece of paper so I could hold it up, huh?
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm going to put...
I'm kidding.
Okay. Anyway, okay. It's been awesome talking to you, Mary Jo. So I'm going to let you go. Oh, wait. Okay. Something I've been doing with some of my other guests is just something that's fun, maybe a little cheesy, but it's sort of a little surprise. Would you like to receive a message?
Well, sure.
Like I said, I might edit this out. So,
are you going to channel something, Kim? Okay.
No, but I love when people well, here, just go with me for a second.
Sure.
Okay. Choose a number 1 through 7.
7.
Oh, okay. Okay. Choose, okay, let's see here. Choose 1 through 273.
Good grief. 63.
63. Okay, and just in a moment, I will tell you what I'm doing. This is awesome. Okay, we're keeping this. So, okay, so I love when people have cards or they pull cards and it's a message and so. Right. So what I have next to me is I have a stack of books, and just before we did our this here, I added Infinite Possibilities as number 7, and you chose Infinite Possibilities.
Okay.
Okay, and page 63. That's what you chose, right? It's 63. Yeah. Okay. Started thinking 67. Okay. Page 63 looks like this, and the blackened portion, we'll count that as maybe what we're supposed to focus on.
Sure.
It says, pain is par for the course when there are misunderstandings, but it gives birth to new insights. Allowing it into your life is just as important as allowing it to move on.
Amen, Brother Mike.
So, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
This book was totally listening to our conversation. And
yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Seriously.
Yeah. It is. There are no serendipities, man.
The energy we created just aligned with the
Yeah.
on message.
Yeah.
It was awesome having you on, Mary Jo. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I just want to say thank you. And I look forward to keeping in touch.
All right. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate the opportunity. And to everybody out there, really go out and create your day. Create your day, create your life. You can do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Peace out.
Peace. Okay.